Hey guys, Telegram Sam here. If you don't already know, I have an Instagram. It's Telegram _Sam _vinyl. So if you're on Instagram, check me out on there. But today's video is just a recent vinyl pickups, some records I've gotten these last 2 weeks. So let's start with the 45s. I only have two this go around, and they're both from the Sub Pop Singles Club. So first off, we got B&H Deluxe with Earth is Somewhere Out There on the A side and Turntable is on the B side. This was the November 2021 release, and I would describe this as like alt rock, indie rock. This was the only release I saw from this band, at least according to Discogs. I couldn't really find anything else about them on the internet or just doing like a Google search, so don't really know anything about this band, if they're even signed to Sub Pop. But I do like the sound of it. It sounds really cool. Very typical modern alt rock, indie rock. I dig it. And then this one just came on a brown vinyl. And then this one I was super excited about. I saw Kim Gordon post about this and Jay Mascis post about it before I even knew it was happening. But this is their 45 Abstract Blues with Slow Boy on the B side, Kim Gordon from Sonic Youth, and Jay Mascis from Dinosaur Jr. This was a collaborative thing that they did, and Fred Armisen also plays bass on Abstract Blues. I dig it. It's a cool blend of, they're both very unique alternative rock sounds. I would say I dig Slow Boy more than Abstract Blues, but it's just a cool thing if you're a fan of both of those bands and just love alternative rock in general. I really like it. And this one came on a really pretty translucent lavender. It kind of matches my hair right now a little bit. But yeah, super cool. Very, very excited to have this. And then now to the long plays. We got one that I showed in my last video is one of my favorite releases of 2021. This is the reissue of Ocean Rain by Echo and the Bunnymen. This album originally came out in 1984. Great new wave, sort of goth rock, indie rock. This was Echo and the Bunnymen's fourth album, and most of the album was recorded in Paris, where they had a 35-piece orchestra play with them, and you really don't get to hear the subtleties of all the instruments playing when you're listening to this on the internet or on CD. You really get to hear it in its full scope when you have it on this really awesome sounding. I don't believe it's remastered, but I think this is just a nice reissue, and the sound quality is so good. One of the best reissues in my collection, to be honest, and I'm just so glad to finally have a really great sounding version of this record in my collection. And now I really want to get all of the other I think that was like a Rhino Rocktober release. I think they did like 3 other Echo and the Bunnymen albums besides that one. I really want to try to get the rest of them because they sound so good. This one just came on a heavy duty. It says 180, but it honestly feels like heavier than that. I don't know if it's just the vinyl they use, but really nice 180 gram vinyl, black with the Korova reproduction label. And then next up, we got one of my favorites from this artist. This is Real Gone by Tom Waits. This originally came out in 2004, and this is a 2017 remastered remix that Tom Waits actually oversaw along with his wife Kathleen Brennan, who co-wrote this and produced this album with him in 2004. But yeah, so good, so like the usual like Tom Waits rock blues. I would say this one is a little bit more like ambient lo-fi, and because this was released in 2004, it was one of the most political records in Tom Waits' discography, talking about the strife of what was going on during the Iraq War during that time. But I love this album. One of my favorite songs by him, Dead and Gone, is on this album, and I just love that song so much. But yeah, his 16th album, I think this is his second last album he released. I think he only released one other album after this one so far. Who knows if he's going to release another one. But yeah, love this album. This remaster sounds fantastic. Comes on this cool gatefold with all the lyrics on the inside. And this came on 108 gram vinyl as well on 2 LPs. This is just one. The custom labels. Next up, we have kind of a milestone in my record collection, and that's going to be my first ever Blue Note jazz record. This is Tender Moments by McCoy Tyner. This originally came out in 1968. This is a 2020 U.S. press. This is part of the whole Tone Poet collection that Kevin Gray is doing with Blue Note. And great jazz, post-bop. Like I said in my last video, I still have my training wheels on when it comes to jazz. But as soon as I put this on my turntable, I just like fell in love with it. Like every song just flows so nicely together, and you have such great players on here. I mean, the amazing Lee Morgan on trumpet, Julian Priester on trombone, James Spalding on alto sax and flute, Benny Maupin on tenor sax, Bob Northern on French horn, Howard Johnson on tuba, McCoy Tyner on piano, Herbie Lewis on bass, and Joe Chambers on drums. And all compositions were written by McCoy. And like as soon as I listened to this record and it ended, I immediately just spun it again because I just fell in love with it. This is my new favorite jazz record in my collection, even though I really don't have that many. I probably only have about 20 so far. But I just love this. This was kind of just a blind buy. I saw the other McCoy Tyner release that I think came out earlier this year, where it's like the picture of him. It's like a whole bunch of little squares, and it's like white and purple. And I almost got that one, but just something about this one just was like really speaking to me. So I said like, fuck it, I'll just try this one. But yeah, I definitely don't regret it. One of my new favorites of my records in general, definitely my favorite in my jazz collection. And yeah, just sounds so good. I'm probably the last person to obviously say that about the whole Tone Poet series, but it sounds so good, crisp, clear, like they should sound on the amazing Blue Note label. And then next up, we got The Fickle Finger of Fate by Dale Crover. This is a 2017 U.S. press, originally came out that year. Dale Crover is famously the drummer of the band The Melvins. He also played on Bleach with Nirvana's album, and he was in Fecal Matter with Kurt Cobain, which was the band he had before he made Nirvana. So he's just an OG of the whole Seattle alternative scene. And I just saw this in the Melvins section at my record store, and I decided to try it out. It's not he's not doing a Melvins thing. He's definitely doing his own sort of rock, pop, experimental thing, and I really dig it. I really like this album. If you're not familiar with his solo work, definitely check it out. He's definitely not just trying to, recreate the Melvins sound, just sell it as his own thing. He's really trying to make a name for himself, and I really, really dig this album. Such a crazy good drummer. He does these little 1 minute sort of drum solo sections in between each of the songs on here. It's just killer. This dude can freaking smack the drums. But yeah, so good. And a little fun fact, Dale Crover actually played young Neil Young in the Harvest Moon music video. So I didn't know that until I just read it when I was looking up stuff about Dale Crover. So yeah, really dig this album. If you love the Melvins or just love rock music, cool experimental drumming music, you'll really dig this. And this one just came on a really cool white vinyl with the custom red labels. Speaking of Neil Young, we got his new album that just came out 2 weeks ago, I think. Bar, Neil Young, Crazy Horse. Great, the typical Neil Young, Crazy Horse sound, rock, country, folk. Yeah, it's really cool to finally hear some new material from him since Neil Young has been giving us so many great archival releases throughout this year. This is his 41st album and his 14th with Crazy Horse. I really like how as he's aged, his voice has gotten a little bit deeper and raspier, so it really adds to that whole country rock sound he has. I don't think this is the greatest Crazy Horse album ever, but I think it's just a cool, great new addition to their discography, and I really love the song Welcome Back. Look up that song if you haven't heard it already. That is a great song. Probably one of my favorites, definitely top 5 of Crazy Horse's songs. Such a slow burner jammer. You got Neil Young's very fuzzed out slow guitar. I just really dig that song. But yeah, super good. I definitely recommend it if you just are a big Neil Young lover like me, and are excited to hear new stuff from him. But yeah, this one came with this cool envelope that has this barn photos. And it has 6 pictures from when they were recording the album. And I think some of these were taken by his wife, Daryl Hannah, too, so that's pretty cool. The boys. I love that one. I'm watching the sunrise or sunset. But yeah, really cool, really dig it. I'd say if you're not into like politically preachy albums, you probably won't like this album. Obviously he talks a lot about, the climate crisis, Donald Trump and politics in general. So if you don't like politically preachy music, this probably isn't your thing, but I subscribe to like a lot of what he's talking about in this. So yeah, really love this. And just came on simple black vinyl with these custom labels. Next up, we got a blues classic. This is Long Distance Call Europe 1982 by R.L. Burnside. This is a 2017 U.S. press. I believe this was a record store day thing. But yeah, R.L. Burnside is one of the greatest country blues guitarists I have ever heard. Just some of the crazy picking he does on this is insane. I mean, this was recorded in the Netherlands in 1982, and the sound quality on this is really good. Like, it literally sounds like R.L. Burnside is playing in my living room when I put this on. Just great classic sort of country hills blues. I really dig it. And I love the blues where it's literally just someone singing a guitar. I think that's the purest form of blues and the best form of blues. And that's what you get on this. This one came on a really cool, clear, smoky gray black vinyl. Yeah, this one I just kind of blind bought. I knew of R.L. Burnside, but I've never really listened to his stuff. But this has become one of my new favorite blues records in my collection. And then next up we have The Garden by Silver Apples. This originally came out in 1998, and this is a 2006 Canadian press. Silver Apples were a very innovative group in the late 60s, early 70s. They originally released 2 albums, and they were kind of famous for like really incorporating electronic music into rock and pop music. Very influential, and because back then electronic music was kind of seen as like the new classical thing, like it was something a lot of academics listened to. It wasn't a very mainstream thing, and they were able to sort of twist it and turn it into a more listenable mainstream thing. And this is a record composed of material they had recorded in the 1970s but just never put out. I think by 1972 they disbanded, and then they got regular jobs, were being normal everyday people until the late 90s when a resurgence in their music came back after a lot of people found their records and really dug what they were doing. and they decided to release this in 1998 to kind of go with their sort of comeback that they were doing. Really cool, really great. They do an awesome cover of Mustang Sally. Just a lot of great originals that we never got to hear from them, and I really love this cover as well. So, and this one just came on simple black vinyl with these simple black labels. And this one I cannot believe I found for the price I did. This is the White Stripes self-titled debut. This originally came out in 1999, and I'm going to say there's no year on here, but this is a very, very, I would say maybe second or third press, very early press. Got this for $20, and I think on Discogs right now the cheapest you can buy it for is like $60, and it's like in near mint condition. You just have some slight wear on the top here, but the record itself is super clean. I'm like, I didn't think it was that expensive, but I'm like, I know this is definitely more than a $20 record when I saw this at my record store. But yeah, super cool, great debut album from them. Not my favorite debut, but not my favorite album from them. You can definitely tell they're still trying to figure out their sound and what they're trying to do. Kind of messy and rough around the edges, but it's kind of cool to hear where they got their start at and what they first sounded like as a band. And this one just came on Sympathy for the Record Industry labels with a black and white peppermint. And I think these are actually more rare than the original red and white labels that they were on, so that I just like cannot believe I scored this. And then these next three I got from my vinyl subscription box. This first one is Reflections of Self by Saracen, and this came out this year, and it's described as rock, soul, funk, rural, country. It was kind of like one of those albums where like every genre was listed underneath it. I haven't gotten a chance to listen to this yet, but it looks really interesting. And then I guess Mike Saracen, who did this record, this is his first solo record, but I saw that he had like about 50 credits with some like 50 or so indie bands. I guess he's also a saxophone player, so I'm wondering if he's going to be doing saxophone on this. I'm not sure. I'm excited to listen to it and hear what it's all about. And this one just came on black vinyl, custom label. Next up, we got Constellations by Clever Girls. Again, this came out this year, and this is described as rock, indie rock. I again haven't gotten a chance to listen to this yet, but I guess this is their second album, and I guess the band is a 4-piece band that's from Vermont, or Burlington, Vermont, and it looks like they had opened up for like people like Jackson Browne and like Grace Potter, so I am very excited to hear what this is all about. And this one came on a very electric, opaque pink vinyl. And this one, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, I'm gonna like this. This is Raw Sewage by Charleston Grotto. This is a 2018 album, pressed in the Netherlands. I would describe this as punk, rock, garage. I'd never heard of Charleston Grotto, and I guess this is the only album they ever released. I guess they were mainly just sort of a live band that played small clubs around LA. So Vinyl Richie, let me know if you ever saw these guys. I really dig their sound. I mean, even though I said they're punk rock, garage, they also have like some disco elements, but also some like jazzy elements. They kind of remind me of like 70s era Sparks meets T-Rex, but like also kind of like Butthole Surfery with their like funny sort of comical lyrics. It's just one of those things that's like really hard to explain. You kind of just have to experience it for yourself. But yeah, this is just a comp of never before released songs that they had done. And again, I haven't seen that they released any other albums besides this one, so yeah, I dig this. I wish they would release some more stuff because this is really, really great stuff. And this one just came on black vinyl with these Everland labels. And then this next album was kind of like one of those things where you just hear a song and you're like, I need to have that on vinyl. That's kind of what happened here. This is Songs of Love and Hate by Leonard Cohen. I was at work this week and I had a chance to kind of get away from the floor and do some office work, and I was listening to like a folk Spotify mix, and the song Famous Blue Raincoat came on off of this album, and I just immediately fell in love with it, and I was like, I need to have that. And I remember that this was like a Black Friday record store day thing. I was like, I bet the record store that's right next to my work probably has some copies of it. And I went there and they still had like 10 copies of this. So I just like had to buy it. It's funny because I love Leonard Cohen. I have about 5 of his poetry books. I love his writing, but his music I could just never get into, because his music, you're not listening to it to listen to the musicianship, you're listening to it to listen to his amazing words. I also want to talk about one of his books, The Flame. This is a great collection that his kids released of some notebooks they had found after he died that just have some lyrics and just some unfinished poems and doodles in it. But the last excerpt in here is his acceptance speech for the Prince of Asturias Award, which I think is a award they give out in Spain. It's literally just a page and a half long, but it's literally one of the most beautiful things I have ever read. And like anytime I'm feeling down or like I just need to be inspired, I always go back and read it because it's so beautiful. He accepted the award in 2011, so there probably is like a YouTube video about it, or him accepting the award. But yeah, I mean, I cannot recommend this enough if you just want to read something that's just so beautiful, that really shows Leonard Cohen's talent as a writer and as a poet. Look that acceptance speech up. Is just, I cry every time I read it. It's so beautiful. But yeah, Leonard Cohen, I love him dearly. He's one of my favorite writers, and yeah, this album is just so beautiful, one of his best albums. And this one came on white vinyl. I believe this is 108 grams as well. Super cool. And then next up, we got some BCLT that I got from Dave from Local Bandography. I was so excited to get this because I've seen him and Dylan from Noble Records talk about this album a lot. But this is Satori by Flower Traveling Band. And oh my god, this is like toe curling, face melting, mind blowing, like psych, hard rock, almost like proto metal kind of album. It's so good. Probably one of the best psych albums I personally ever heard thus far. Comes from this great Japanese band. This is their second album and their first album with original work. I mean, if you love rock, psych guitar playing, or just crazy guitar playing in general, this is your album. Man, the shredding on this guy does is insane. I cannot, there's no way to explain it other than mind-blowing, insane guitar playing. But yeah, I was reading an interesting thing about this album, how they kind of were mainly just playing, covers of Western rock music in the late 60s. And in the early 70s, the Canadian band Lighthouse saw them play and was like, hey, you guys should really come to Canada and try to sell your stuff to record labels. I think they would really dig you. And so they kind of just threw this album together as something that they could give to labels to sort of sell them. And I can't believe that. This is so good. Yeah, and this is This originally came out in 1971. This is a 2019 UK bootleg, but it sounds so good. I know original presses go for a lot, so I'm happy with that for now. But it came on this really cool red translucent vinyl. And then these next 3 records I actually bought from Isaac from Blind Island's Discogs. If you don't know Isaac from Blind Island, he has such a great channel. He took a break a little bit ago, and now he just recently came back and started making videos again. But he's selling some records from his own personal collection, I believe, to help fund this idea he has of doing a vinyl cafe, which I think is so cool. So I checked it out, and of course I'm always in need of vinyls, so I got some stuff from his Discogs. And I'll also link both Dave and Isaac's channels down below. Check them out. They're so much more smarter than me and have really great eclectic taste, so definitely go check out their channels. But the first thing I got was Duck Rock by Malcolm McLaren. I've always heard this mixed reviews about this album. Some people really love it, some people really hate it and think it was just Malcolm McLaren just trying to do a cash grab, but Isaac was selling this really cool promo of it, so I kind of had to get it, and it was pretty cheap. But yeah, original 1983 US press. I haven't listened to it yet, but I saw it described as like sort of world music, African music with sort of a hip-hop flair to it. This album was credited to sort of bringing hip-hop over to the UK and kind of introducing it to a more mainstream audience. And this actual background artwork was done by Keith Haring, so that's actually really cool. I love Keith Haring's artwork. But yeah, really excited to listen to this. Obviously, Malcolm McLaren is famous for sort of orchestrating and being the manager of the Sex Pistols and stealing Adam Ant's backing band and creating Bow Wow. So yeah, he's quite a character in the whole late 70s, early 80s British music scene. And this one just came on black vinyl with the 80s Island label. I actually don't think I have any other like original Island records in my collection, so that's pretty cool. And another hole I've been trying to fill in my collection is my Tom Petty. I don't have any Tom Petty in my record collection, and I love Tom Petty. But this was his first album, his self-titled album with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. This originally came out in 1976, and this is a 1979 US press. I mean, Tom Petty is just like the king of pop rock. Yeah, not my favorite Tom Petty album, but this has one of my favorite Tom Petty songs on it, Breakdown, so that's kind of why I got it. And it's just cool to have Tom Petty's first album. And this album also has American Girl on it, which every time I listen to, I always think of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, so really glad to finally have some Tom Petty in the collection. And this one just came on, was it the Shelter label, I think? I love these labels. And then next up, another artist I've been trying to get more music from. This is Storm Windows by John Prine. And this is also, where is it? Promo copy. This originally came out in 1980, and this is great folk, country, rock. This was his 7th album and his last album with Asylum Records, his last album on a major label. And this was produced by Barry Beckett, who also worked with Bob Dylan and Paul Simon. And this was his first record after he did his critically and commercially panned record called Pink Cadillac. That was sort of like a weird disco rockabilly album, and this was sort of him kind of getting back on track to his whole country folk roots. So really excited to have this really awesome promo copy that's in like mint condition. So again, haven't listened to this one yet, but I can tell I'm already gonna like it. On the white Asylum label, like look how clean that is. So clean. But yeah, that is all I got these last 2 weeks. Thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.